Our planet, this spinning sphere of blue and green, holds secrets in its most isolated corners. We often dream of paradise, of untouched lands brimming with life, much like the legendary Garden of Eden, a place of perfect harmony and wonder. But what if I told you that fragments of such otherworldly realms still exist, scattered across our vast oceans? These are islands, worlds unto themselves, where the rules of the ordinary world seem to bend and break. They are places of breathtaking beauty, profound mystery, and sometimes unsettling tales that whisper through the rustling leaves and crashing waves. Some of these isolated lands are so strange, so detached from our reality that they feel as though they were plucked from another planet. Their landscapes defy expectation, their flora and fauna are unlike anything seen elsewhere, and their histories are woven with enigma. We hear whispers and theories, some grounded in science, others venturing into the realm of pure speculation, tales of lost civilizations, ghostly apparitions, and even the astonishing idea that one such island might conceal an advanced, non-human intelligence, a hidden alien base beneath its very soil. The truth, as always, is often more fascinating than fiction. The allure of these islands is undeniable. They call to the explorer in all of us, that innate curiosity to venture beyond the familiar and gaze upon the unknown. They are nature's great puzzles, challenging our understanding of geology, biology, and history itself. These are not mere dots on a map. They are living, breathing enigmas, each with a unique story to tell. And so, it is to these extraordinary and bewildering places that we now turn our attention. Our journey begins in the Arabian Sea, at a place so unique it has been called the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean. This is Socotra, an island that seems to have been sculpted by a different hand, a painter with a palette of surreal forms and colors. Separated from the mainland of Africa for millions of years, life here has followed its own extraordinary evolutionary path. The very air feels ancient, and the landscape appears as if it were a scene from a science fiction epic, a world that time simply forgot to update. It is a living museum of natural history. The most striking features of this alien world are its plants. The dragon's blood tree, Dracaena kinnabari, stands as the island's icon. Its dense, upturned canopy resembles a giant green mushroom or a flying saucer perched precariously on a gnarled trunk. When cut, its bark bleeds a deep red resin, the dragon's blood of legend, used for centuries as a dye and a medicine. It is a marvel of adaptation, its unique shape designed to capture moisture from the highland mists and provide shade for the seedlings that grow beneath its protective umbrella. Sharing this bizarre ecosystem is the desert rose, Adenium socotranum. It looks less like a plant and more like a sculpture of a swollen bulbous elephant's leg, crowned with delicate pink flowers during its brief blooming season. These bottle trees can store vast amounts of water within their trunks, allowing them to survive the island's harsh, arid conditions. They are ancient beings, some estimated to be centuries old, silent witnesses to the island's long and isolated history, standing guard over the rocky terrain. This isolation has also nurtured a unique fauna. While there are no native mammals, the island is a haven for birds, with several species found nowhere else on Earth. The Socotra sunbird, the Socotra starling, the Socotra bunting, each has adapted perfectly to this specific environment. They flit between the bizarre branches of the island's flora, their songs the only soundtrack in this quiet, otherworldly kingdom. The island is also home to a spectacular diversity of reptiles, their scales glinting in the intense sunlight. Yet this island paradise holds a darker side. Its surrounding waters, treacherous and unpredictable, have been the doom of many a mariner. The jagged coastline is a graveyard of ships, with ancient and modern wrecks littering the seabed, their skeletal remains a stark reminder of the ocean's power. For centuries, sailors have spoken of Socotra with a mixture of awe and fear, a land of unparalleled wonders, guarded by a perilous sea that has claimed countless lives and their precious cargo. Far from the arid landscapes of Socotra, we travel to the heart of the Pacific Ocean, to a place that appears, at first glance, to be the very definition of paradise. Palmyra Atoll is a remote, verdant necklace of islets surrounding a series of turquoise lagoons. It is an almost pristine ecosystem, teeming with life. Sharks, manta rays, and vibrant coral reefs thrive in its crystalline waters. But beneath this idyllic veneer lies a history steeped in darkness and inexplicable events, earning it a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the Pacific. The atoll's sinister legacy seems to begin with its geography. It lies near the intertropical convergence zone, an area notorious for unpredictable and violent weather. For centuries, sailors have told tales of sudden, ferocious storms appearing from nowhere, driving their ships onto the razor-sharp reefs that guard the atoll. The sheer number of shipwrecks scattered in its waters is staggering, testament to the navigational challenges and the volatile nature of the sea in this remote corner of the world. These wrecks are not just historical artifacts, they are whispered to be the source of the atoll's unsettling energy. Legends of lost treasure abound, most famously the treasure of the Spanish galleon Esperanza, said to have sunk here in the early 19th century laden with Inca gold. This tale has lured countless treasure hunters to Palmyra's shores, many of whom have met with misfortune. But it is not just the pursuit of wealth that has ended in tragedy. There are numerous accounts of unexplained disappearances. Sailors who have landed on the atoll have vanished without a trace, their boats found empty, drifting aimlessly in the lagoon. Those who have spent time on Palmyra speak of a pervasive and deeply unsettling atmosphere. They report an overwhelming sense of being watched, of a malevolent presence that lurks in the dense jungle. Visitors and researchers have described hearing disembodied voices whispering in the rustling palms, seeing shadowy figures moving at the edge of their vision, and experiencing an inexplicable dread that settles upon them the moment they step ashore. These are not isolated incidents but a recurring theme in the accounts of those who have dared to stay. The most famous modern tale is the 1974 disappearance and murder of a wealthy couple, the Grahams, whose story only deepened the atoll's dark mystique. Even those who approach Palmyra with a skeptical, scientific mind often leave with a sense of unease they cannot quite explain. It's as if the island itself possesses a consciousness, one that is ancient, powerful, and not entirely welcoming. Palmyra Atoll remains a profound paradox, a place of stunning natural beauty that seems to be intrinsically linked to human tragedy and fear. Our next destination is a geological marvel, a natural Russian doll that defies simple description. We journey to the Philippines, to the island of Luzon. Here we find Lake Taal, and within this lake sits Taal Volcano Island, but the recursion does not end there. In the crater of Taal Volcano lies another body of water, the main crater lake. And, rising from the waters of this crater lake, is a tiny nub of rock, a small dome of land, known as Vulcan Point. It is, quite literally, an island within a lake. On an island within a lake, on an island. This extraordinary geographical feature is the result of a complex and violent volcanic history. Taal Volcano is one of the most active volcanoes in the Philippines. Part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, the large outer lake, Lake Taal, is itself the caldera of a massive prehistoric eruption. The island that rises from it is the active volcano, a cone built up by countless subsequent eruptions. This entire system is a sleeping giant, a place of serene beauty that masks an immense and destructive power bubbling just beneath the surface. To stand on the rim of the main crater and look down at the emerald green lake within, with Vulcan Point at its center, is a truly surreal experience. The water of the crater lake is highly acidic, and its temperature can vary dramatically, a direct indicator of the volcanic activity below. Steam vents, or fumaroles, hiss and smoke along the crater's edge, releasing sulfuric gases that give the air a sharp, pungent smell. It is a constant and visceral reminder that you are standing inside one of the world's deadliest volcanoes. The danger is not theoretical. Taal has erupted over 30 times in recorded history, often with devastating consequences. The 1911 eruption was particularly catastrophic, claiming over 1,000 lives. More recently, in 2020, the volcano spewed a colossal column of ash and steam miles into the atmosphere, forcing the evacuation of tens of thousands of people and blanketing the surrounding landscape in a thick layer of gray ash. The very existence of Vulcan Point is precarious, subject to the whims of the powerful geological forces that created it. Despite the ever-present threat, a community once lived on Volcano Island, fishing in the outer lake, and farming the fertile volcanic soil. For them, the volcano was both a source of life and a constant menace. Today, the island is largely a no-man's land, a permanent danger zone. Vulcan Point remains, for now, a tiny, improbable piece of land, the quiet center of a geological labyrinth, a testament to the Earth's restless and creative power, a mystery born not of myth, but of fire and water. We now sail thousands of miles across the Pacific to one of the most isolated inhabited islands on Earth. Known to its people as Rapa Nui, the world knows it as Easter Island. This small triangle of volcanic rock is famous for one thing above all else: the moai. Nearly 900 colossal stone statues, silent and imposing figures that stand vigil over the barren landscape. They are the island's great mystery. Monolithic effigies that have puzzled explorers, historians, and archaeologists for centuries. These statues are truly monumental. The average moai stands around 13 feet tall and weighs 14 tons, but some are much larger, with the tallest completed statue reaching over 30 feet. They were carved from tuff, a compressed volcanic ash, in a single quarry at the Rano Raraku volcano. Here, hundreds of statues remain in various stages of completion, some still attached to the bedrock, as if the workers simply dropped their tools one day and walked away. The sheer scale of this operation is difficult to comprehend for such a small, isolated society. The most enduring question is how the Rapa Nui people moved these colossal figures across the island to the ceremonial platforms, or ahu, where most of them were erected. Some statues were transported over 11 miles from the quarry. Oral traditions speak of the moai walking to their destinations, a phrase that has inspired numerous theories. Experiments have shown that with ropes and a sufficient number of people, it might have been possible to rock the statues forward in a walking motion, a slow and perilous shuffle across the island's rolling hills. Beyond the moai, the origins of the Rapa Nui people themselves have been a subject of debate. Thor Heyerdahl famously speculated that the island was settled from South America, a theory he attempted to prove with his Kon-Tiki expedition. However, overwhelming linguistic and DNA evidence now confirms that the first settlers were Polynesians who arrived from the west, master navigators who crossed the vast, empty ocean in canoes sometime around 1200 AD. They brought with them a complex culture that would find its ultimate expression in the carving of the moai. The story of Easter Island is also a cautionary tale. The once lush palm forests that covered the island were cleared, likely to aid in transporting the statues and for agriculture. This deforestation led to soil erosion and the collapse of their ecosystem, and in turn, their society. When Europeans arrived in 1722, they found a depleted population and a barren land. The great statues toppled in internal conflicts. The moai now stand as solemn reminders of a brilliant, isolated civilization and the fragility of our relationship with the world around us. South of Mexico City, amidst the ancient canals of Xochimilco, lies an island that is not mysterious for its geology or its ancient history, but for a modern, deeply personal, and profoundly eerie tribute. This is Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls. It is a small unassuming patch of land, but as you approach by boat, a disturbing sight comes into view. Hanging from every tree, every fence post, every structure, are hundreds upon hundreds of dolls. Their plastic eyes stare blankly, their limbs are broken, and their bodies are covered in grime, cobwebs, and insects. The legend behind this strange and unsettling collection is a tragic one. Don Julian Santana Barrera was the island's sole inhabitant and caretaker for over 50 years. The story goes that shortly after he arrived, he found the body of a young girl who had drowned in the canal. Haunted by her spirit, and finding a doll floating in the water near where he found her, he hung it from a tree, as a sign of respect and to appease her troubled soul. But one doll was not enough to quiet the whispers and footsteps he claimed to hear in the dark. And so began his lifelong obsession. For decades, Don Julian collected dolls wherever he could find them, scavenging them from the trash, trading his homegrown produce for them. He hung them all over the island, creating a macabre shrine that he believed would protect him from the drowned girl's spirit. He did not clean or repair them, he hung them as he found them in every state of decay. He believed the dolls themselves became hosts for spirits, and that together they formed a chorus to comfort the lost soul of the little girl. The atmosphere on the island is thick with a sorrowful, chilling energy. As you walk the muddy paths, you are surrounded by a silent, watching audience. Dolls with missing eyes, severed heads hanging by their matted hair, torsos impaled on branches. The gentle breeze causes them to swing and turn, their plastic limbs creaking, creating the illusion of ghostly movement. Visitors often report feeling watched, hearing whispers among the trees, and some even claim the doll's eyes have followed them. The story took an even darker turn in 2001. Don Julian Santana Barrera, then an old man, was found dead. He had drowned in the very same canal where he claimed to have found the little girl's body half a century earlier. His family now runs the island as a tourist attraction, leaving his strange and terrifying creation untouched. The Island of the Dolls remains a powerful, disturbing monument to one man's grief and madness, and a place where the line between tribute and terror has become irrevocably blurred. We leave the Americas and travel to one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Venice, Italy. But just a short boat ride from the splendor of St. Mark's Square lies an island with a history so dark it is strictly forbidden to visitors. This is Poveglia. Small and unassuming, its soil is said to be composed of 50% human ash. For centuries, Poveglia was a place where the unwanted, the sick, and the dying were sent, a final destination from which there was no return. Its reputation as Italy's most haunted island is well earned. Poveglia's grim history began in the 14th century during the height of the Black Death. As the plague ravaged Venice, the island was repurposed as a lazaretto, a quarantine station. But it was more than that. It was a dumping ground. Thousands of people, showing even the slightest symptom of the plague, were forcibly removed from their homes and shipped to Poveglia. They were left to die in agony, their bodies thrown into enormous pits and burned. It is estimated that over 160,000 souls perished here during the plague years. The island lay abandoned for centuries, its soil saturated with human remains, its name synonymous with death and suffering. But its story was not over. In 1922, a large and imposing building was constructed on the island. It was opened as a psychiatric hospital. From the very beginning, patients and staff reported experiencing strange phenomena. They spoke of seeing the ghostly figures of plague victims and hearing moans and screams echoing through the halls at night. The island's dark past seemed to be seeping into its present. The hospital itself became a place of horror. Legend tells of a sadistic doctor who performed cruel experiments on the patients, including lobotomies with crude instruments like hammers and chisels. He was said to be driven mad by the island's ghosts, who tormented him relentlessly for his atrocities. The story ends with the doctor throwing himself from the hospital's bell tower. While the specifics of this tale are hard to verify, the hospital was indeed a place of great suffering, and it was eventually closed in 1968, leaving the island abandoned once more. Today, Poveglia is a ruin. Nature is slowly reclaiming the decaying hospital buildings, and the bell tower that still stands as a grim sentinel. The Italian government prohibits travel to the island, but that has not stopped paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers from making clandestine visits. They return with stories of disembodied voices, terrifying apparitions, and the overwhelming feeling of being touched by unseen hands. Poveglia remains a festering wound in the Venetian lagoon, a place where the echoes of immense human suffering are said to be trapped forever. Our next mystery is of a different kind. It's not about what is on an island, but, well, the island itself, or rather, the lack of one. We're looking for Isla Bermeja, the reddish island, which for centuries appeared on maps of the Gulf of Mexico, located off the northern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. It was a significant landmark for sailors and in modern times, crucial for determining the boundaries of Mexico's oil-rich territorial waters. There is just one problem. When you go to its coordinates today, you find nothing but open ocean. Isla Bermeja was first documented on Spanish maps from the 16th century and continued to be charted for over 400 years. It was depicted as a small but distinct landmass, a reliable point of reference for navigators. Its existence was taken as fact, appearing in official inventories of Mexican islands well into the 20th century. Its importance grew immensely with the discovery of vast, offshore oil deposits in the Gulf, as its location would have significantly extended Mexico's exclusive economic zone. The mystery began in 1997, as Mexico and the United States were negotiating their maritime borders. The location of Bermeja became a critical point of contention. The Mexican government sent a survey ship, the Onjuku, to its charted location to officially verify its existence and geography. The ship's crew scoured the area using state-of-the-art sonar and satellite positioning. They found nothing. The water was over 1,400 meters deep. The island, a fixture on maps for centuries, had simply vanished. Several more official search expeditions were launched by the Mexican Navy and the National Autonomous University of Mexico. None found any trace of an island. So, what happened to it? One theory suggests it was a cartographical error. A mistake, made centuries ago and simply copied from map to map without verification. Another more dramatic geological theory proposes that the island, perhaps a small, low-lying sandbar or reef, was submerged due to rising sea levels or destroyed by a powerful hurricane. But a more tantalizing and persistent explanation has emerged: conspiracy. Some theorists in Mexico claim that the island was deliberately destroyed, perhaps by a clandestine operation. The motive: to shrink Mexico's maritime claim and give the United States access to the enormous oil fields in the Donut Hole, a disputed area in the Gulf. Proponents of this theory ask how such an important landmark could simply be a centuries-old mistake. The truth remains elusive, lost in the depths of the Gulf, making Isla Bermeja a true phantom island, a geographical ghost. Deep within the marshy delta of the Paraná River in Argentina lies a mystery that was only discovered thanks to modern satellite imagery. It's a phenomenon so strange and so geometrically perfect that it really defies easy explanation. Known simply as the Eye, it's a perfectly circular island of land about 120 meters in diameter, sitting within a slightly larger, perfectly circular lake. What's even stranger, this island isn't fixed. It floats, and it slowly rotates on its axis, within its watery socket. The discovery was made by Argentine filmmaker Sergio Neuspiller, who was actually scouting locations for a horror film. While browsing Google Earth, he stumbled upon this bizarre formation. Intrigued, and, honestly, a bit skeptical, he organized an expedition to find it in person. After an arduous journey through dense, almost impassable swampland, they found it. The Eye was real. The water of the outer ring was incredibly clear and cold, shockingly so for a stagnant marsh. The central island was solid, buoyant land, firm enough to walk on, which was in stark contrast to the swampy terrain surrounding it. But the most baffling aspect of the Eye is its movement. By comparing satellite images taken over several months, the team confirmed that the island rotates. It moves in a slow, circular path within the outer lake, bumping against the edges before turning again. The formation is a dynamic, moving puzzle. How can such a perfect circle form naturally, and what force is causing it to rotate? The island appears to be a floating mat of vegetation, known as a camelot, but none have ever been observed with such perfect geometry or rotational behavior. Scientific explanations are still pretty tentative. One hypothesis suggests that the circular shape is formed by the rotating island itself, which carves out the outer lake as it turns, scraping against the surrounding swamp. The rotation could be driven by currents within the pool, maybe created by underground springs feeding the unusually clear cold water into the lake. However, this doesn't fully account for the almost flawless circularity of both the island and the lake that contains it. Naturally, where science struggles to provide a complete answer, speculation thrives. The sheer geometric perfection and strange behavior have led some to suggest it's not a natural formation at all. Theories range from it being the entrance to a hidden underground base to it being a landing site for UFOs. While these ideas are, firmly in the realm of fringe belief, they speak to the profound sense of wonder and mystery that the Eye evokes. It remains a bizarre and beautiful anomaly, a rotating enigma hidden deep within the Argentinian wilderness. Our final mystery takes us beneath the waves of the Baltic Sea, to a discovery that ignited a firestorm of debate and speculation. In 2011, a team of Swedish oceanographers named Ocean X were using side-scan sonar to search for sunken treasure. They found something else entirely. On the seafloor, at a depth of nearly 300 feet, their equipment mapped a massive circular object, 60 meters in diameter, with features that appeared, strangely artificial. It was dubbed the Baltic Sea Anomaly, and some believe it isn't an object on the seafloor, but a structure, a base, whose top resembles a small, rocky island. The sonar images were startling. They showed a large rounded object with what appeared to be right angles, straight lines, and features resembling ramps, stairways, and circular holes. It looked, to many, like a crashed spacecraft, reminiscent of the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Trailing behind the main object was a skid mark on the seafloor, over 300 meters long, suggesting the object had scraped along the bottom before coming to a rest. The team also reported that their electrical equipment, including satellite phones and cameras, failed whenever their ship was directly above the object. A second, smaller object was found nearby, adding to the intrigue. Divers who visited the site returned with conflicting and confusing reports. They described the object as a large rock or cliff, but one with unnaturally smooth, curved sides and strange formations. They collected samples which, when analyzed, were found to be mundane rocks like granite and basalt. However, the surface of the object was covered in a layer of limonite goethite, a material that geologists found puzzling in that context. Skeptical scientists have offered more grounded explanations. The most prominent theory is that the anomaly is a natural rock formation, a glacial deposit dropped by melting ice sheets at the end of the last ice age. The strange shape could simply be the result of geology and the low-resolution nature of the sonar imaging. The skid mark could be a natural sediment trail, and the equipment failures could be coincidental or unexplained interference common in the area. Despite these rational explanations, the alien base theory persists, fueled by the initial strange images and the electronic interference. The idea that this structure is the top of a much larger buried complex, a hidden base of non-human origin, is too compelling for many to dismiss. The OceanX team themselves remain divided. Is it a unique but natural geological oddity, or is it tangible proof that we are not alone, a piece of advanced technology lying dormant in the cold, dark waters of the Baltic, masquerading as a mysterious island-like formation on the seabed? The mystery endures. From the alien flora of Socotra to the rotating eye of Argentina, we've journeyed to the fringes of our world and our understanding. These islands are more than just landmasses surrounded by water, they're repositories of myth, challenges to science and monuments to the indomitable power of nature and the enduring strangeness of our planet. They remind us that even in an age of satellite imagery and global connectivity, there are still places that guard their secrets fiercely, places that remain shrouded in profound and captivating mystery. Each island tells a different story. Some speak of unique evolutionary paths, creating life forms found nowhere else. Others whisper cautionary tales of civilizations lost to their own ambition, or of the immense psychological toll of isolation and tragedy. And some present us with puzzles so strange, a phantom island on an ancient map, a geometric anomaly in a swamp, that they push the boundaries of our belief, and inspire theories that reach for the stars. They're a testament to the fact that the world is far more complex and wondrous than we often assume. The allure of these places is the allure of the unknown itself. It's a call to our innate curiosity, a desire to peer into the darkness and discover what lies beyond the veil of the familiar. Whether the mysteries are ever fully solved is, perhaps, unimportant. Their true value lies in their ability to make us wonder, to question, and to look upon our world with a renewed sense of awe. For as long as there are such islands, there will be stories to tell, and the human spirit of exploration will have a destination.